I have supported Ahmadinejad's candidacy in this election. And the reason is that I have followed what has happened in Iran during his presidency. And it seems to me that what he has done has been in line with what I believe, which is social justice, economic justice, and welfare for the people. And he came to be elected by the working people and the poor people and the peasants, people of the small towns in Iran. And he has followed through with most of what he promised. For example, in the issue of privatization, he has introduced the justice stocks, which means that he has decided to give certain percentage, like 50% of the stocks at reduced prices to the workers before the whole factory is sold in the stock market, where only the rich can purchase it and take control of it. So to keep the control of the working people is very important. And also during his presidency, he developed affordable housing in Iran and gave reduced price of lands to the working people and poor people to build houses. And also the social security has been extended to the women who work at home. The homemakers have become eligible for that, and many other such economic justice issues, which are very significant and important to me. And also I have supported him in his foreign policy because he has stood steadfast against the imposition of United States and other European countries on Iran that they do not have the right to develop nuclear energy, which is their international law, and they have been successful in carrying that out. And also the fact that he has developed a strong relationship with the non-aligned movement around the world, and by that has taken Iran out of isolation and has stopped the very strong attack of the US government on Iran. And those are the reasons that I strongly support him. I don't believe that's correct, even though in some, aspects of his speeches, I believe he has not been diplomatic enough. But sometimes I believe he's too honest, and not careful about the words he uses, especially that the words he uses in Persian and can be translated in a way that's not understood properly. But in the basic concept of what he's doing, he has not been adventurous. And in fact, it is the US that was very aggressive towards Iran before he came to power, because they had forced the previous government to stop the enrichment of uranium for 2 years. And still America during that time called Iran a member of the axis of evil. So it was not because of somebody like Ahmadinejad standing steadfast, but it was in fact because of the previous government being very careful and taking steps back, and American government became more aggressive. But during the time of Ahmadinejad's presidency, in fact, the situation with Iran has improved, and we know that after 4 years now, the US has said that the military option is not necessarily on the table, and for the first time they're ready to talk to the Iranian government and recognize it as the government of Iran. Iran is not necessarily in such a good position. There are various problems. One is that Iran is an Islamic republic. So a lot of the young people have concerns about social freedom, especially the young people who are in well-off families. So the economic issues may not be their most important concern, but social freedom are definitely their concern in an Islamic republic. But those social restrictions have not increased during Ahmadinejad. It's a consequence of being an Islamic country. And over the 30 years, of course, because the young people have shown their strength and have had movements, they have achieved more freedom, more social freedoms. For example, today in Iran, the young people have much more freedom to talk hand in hand in the streets and go to cafes and so on. But so I believe that if there is not disruption in Iran and there is not a war and peace continues, the young people and women and various workers' organizations will be able to make progress without disruption. And more disruption that comes about may bring more harsh response from the government that would make it, in fact, more difficult. So the problems that are expressed are not really issue of Ahmadinejad's presidency. It is an issue that has to do with the Islamic Republic. And those candidates like Mousavi, that the young people who want more social freedom support, to me it's amazing that, in fact, he is a part of the Islamic Republic structure, and he was the prime minister for 8 years in Iran, where the social restrictions were, in fact, the hardest. And that's why this doesn't make sense to me. There's not a consistency, there's an inconsistency, and there's not a logical way, the way things are happening. It seems to me that that is the reason, because they keep saying, I want, freedom, and I believe the freedom they're talking about, of course, is social, political freedom, for example. And those freedoms, as I said, if you look at the facts, have not been more or increased during the last 4 years. In fact, with the reforms that started during Khatami, they have moved forward, and there are more social freedoms and more freedoms for women. But I think that a lot of people in Iran are confused, the young people, and also because of the propaganda of the West, because of the money that has been spent by the US on Voice of America and Radio Farda and the BBC and the so-called Iranian broadcast in LA who get money from the American Congress and so on. The propaganda works on the young people. And I think that Mousavi has taken the posture as if he represents, in fact, social freedom. And the young people who are looking for an outlet for that are just following this, and I think that they're really mistaken, and it will not benefit them. And as I said, if there is more disruption, and I think that this may be the hands of the US, and that will distract these people from going the way they want to do in order to achieve more freedom. But if they're opposed to the government as whole, it makes no sense to me to support Mousavi, who's a very strong column of the Islamic Republic, and he believes in the constitution and all those social restrictions.